Yeah, during the film, if you after, stay there when she's talking. And
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Viewers who are watching our stream on Facebook or YouTube, and all those tonight here in the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand Clubhouse. I'm Gwen Robinson, former president of the FCCT and editor-at-large of Nikkei Asia. Before we kick off tonight, as you know, we're here to discuss the escalating humanitarian crisis inside Myanmar and along the border. But before beginning, I'd just like to give you a quick reminder of a couple of interesting events. First, tomorrow night, Thursday the 21st, we have a discussion and screening of Full Circle, a film which documents a fascinating project in southern Thailand involving a groundbreaking initiative between NGOs and small coastal communities to collect and upcycle marine plastic waste. And it looks at how this project evolved. And we have an excellent lineup of experts and speakers to talk about both the film and the project. And next Monday, April the 25th, a panel presented by the Global Alliance Against Trafficking in Women, which will present powerful new research into traffickers' characteristics, their modus operandi and relationships with victims, and their treatment in the criminal justice system. While these findings are global, are we having trouble with the mic? The speakers on Monday night for this program from Malaysia, Vietnam and Australia will focus on traffickers and trafficking in Southeast Asia. So keep an eye out for those and many more programs we've got coming up. Just turning to our very important topic tonight of the humanitarian cost of the Tatmadaw's war in Myanmar. I'd just very briefly, I think anyone watching this is well aware that since the February 1st coup 2021 in Myanmar, the military or Tatmadaw has stepped up its brutal campaign targeting areas of resistance across the country, including near the Thai-Myanmar border in Kayin and Kayah states. Nearly 200,000 people have been internally displaced in those two states alone since late last year, and that brings the number to about 1 million people inside Myanmar who are internally displaced. More than 500,000 of those since the coup alone, with some refugees fleeing across the Moei River to Thailand and also on the other side into India. That's a fairly grim situation. You've probably read about the toll on those people, hundreds of thousands, including women and children, living in the bushes, food shortages, severe medical problems, etc., all the while an escalating military campaign. On this evening, our speakers are here to discuss the internal dynamics of this escalating humanitarian crisis and its impact on neighbouring areas such as the Thai-Myanmar border. So I'd like to first introduce our speakers, some of who are joining us by Zoom. We'll start on the screen there on the upper left hand is Nor Susanna Lala So. She is the Minister of Women, Children and Youth Affairs for the National Unity Government of Myanmar. Nor Susanna, thanks very much for making the time to be here tonight. On the upper right is Tu Chit, founder and director of the Foundation for Education and Development in Kayah State. On the bottom is Nene Plo, who is Kayah representative and working on emergency humanitarian relief issues in Kayah State. So on the panel here next to me on the far right is Sally Thompson, Executive Director of the Border Consortium, an alliance of NGOs working on the Thai-Myanmar border. And last but very not least is Jeannie Hallisey, a filmmaker who is well known to many of us in this room. Before we start the discussion, we are going to show a short film. We're actually going to show a couple of short films tonight. One's 8 minutes, the other is 4 minutes. The first one, Reign of Sorrow, by Kirana Productions, and later Death from the Air, a Karenni video courtesy of Free Burma Rangers, which provides emergency humanitarian assistance inside Myanmar. These films document the impact of the military's attacks on ethnic villages in Myanmar's east and targeting of civilian infrastructure, including schools and hospitals. I'd like to ask Jeannie to introduce this film, Reign of Sorrow. Over to you, Jeannie.
Thank you so much, Gwen, and thank you everybody for coming this evening. It's heartening to see that there's a sustained interest in the ongoing crisis in Burma, because so much of our attention has been diverted for the crisis that has taken place and is continuing in Ukraine. So it's really imperative that we put our efforts to shed light on a place that's right here in our region. Reign of Sorrow was a Kirana Productions, as Gwen mentioned, and it was filmed recently inside Karen State. And it focused upon the impact of the ongoing conflict or war, one might describe, upon civilians, with a particular emphasis about the illegal targeting of civilian institutions that include hospitals, schools, and any civilian institution, as we've seen is in elsewhere in Myanmar during the conflict, including churches, have been bombed. And this is in direct contravention to the Geneva Convention, which protects those institutions as well as civilians who are in those areas who have also been injured physically from the aerial strikes that continue frequently, if not nightly, in those areas. There are the use of drones in these villages that are used to gather surveillance of where the Myanmar military is looking for armed resistance from the ethnic armed organizations or the newly formed PDF. But what we wanted to display in this the film was that despite all of these incredible challenges, there is an equal, if not greater, amount of resilience and tremendous strength from the ethnic communities that have been suffering in these areas. This particular point, this juncture of Myanmar's history is quite remarkable, unlike previous revolutions that the journalists here have all been documenting from the 88 period, the Saffron Revolution, the Cyclone Nargis, 1997 Student Revolution, the political transition. And what is remarkably different now is that whilst the ethnic communities have been suffering in the most unimaginable way with heinous abuses that have been very well documented by recognized organizations, including Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and others, for half a century, the largely urban and largely Burman populations have been spared that reality. So it's almost as if the country had two parallel realities that never met. And the awakening of the population now that we saw from the Spring Revolution included and was spearheaded in what was known as the CDM, the Civil Disobedience Movement, by members of the medical profession. And a few of them are in this film. And it's important to acknowledge the tremendous courage that they are now demonstrating by committing themselves to stay in ethnic areas and serve the people. These are not just doctors, they are also nurses. Some of them are technicians. They could be X-ray technicians and medics. The ethnic armed organizations themselves had their own teams of medics, but having these newcomers from the CDM movement now living in these ethnic areas is something that is markedly different that we haven't seen before, and we wanted to acknowledge the contribution that they are making. Just a quick note to say that Karana Productions is a non-profit organization that produces human rights documentaries that are used for advocacy in partnership with various civil society groups on the ground, as well as some international organizations. And the producer of Karana Productions happens to be visiting Bangkok tonight, Greg Butensky, who's sitting there. So if anybody's interested in the work that Karana does, and they were the team that produced this film, you can speak with Greg. And our films are done in partnership with AsiaWorks Television. So all of our post-production is done here in Bangkok with AsiaWorks, and we very much also want to appreciate that partnership. Before I close, I was asked to acknowledge something else this evening whilst tonight's event and our speakers will focus on the ethnic communities that have been so gravely affected by this ongoing conflict. As mentioned, there are also Burmans and other in urban areas, and including political prisoners. And tomorrow is a day that's of particular importance. If you can bring up that photo, April 21st is a campaign to where it's called the Blue Shirt Campaign. And there was a very renowned and highly respected journalist by the name of U Win Tin, who was himself a political prisoner for more than 20 years. He was an editor of the Hantarawadi Times and was a beacon of press freedom and a beacon of truth and speaking truth to power, even in difficult times in the early part of the transition under the National League of for Democracy. He was able to point out and critique the NLD's shortcomings. Could we have that photo called up, Dom? And the organization that many of you are familiar with, the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, AAPPB, if you go to their website, they are spearheading this campaign because tomorrow is the anniversary of U Win Tin's death. And he continued to wear the blue shirt, the prison uniform, because he felt that justice and freedom and accountability had yet to come. So we just wanted to ask everybody, if you're interested, to go to the AAPP website and share that. And thank you so much to the FCCT for organizing this very important panel this evening. And we'll screen the film now. Thank you, Gwen.
Thanks very much, Jeannie. This film will run for 8 minutes and we'll then go into presentation. Thanks, Kuntam. If we can take the lights down.
The majestic Salween River marks the border between Thailand and Myanmar. The two countries are near in distance, but worlds apart in the reality on the ground. A year after the Myanmar military seized power in a coup, civil war is raging across the country. Doctors who joined the civil disobedience movement are now working in conflict areas controlled by armed ethnic organizations. The Myanmar military has been launching airstrikes targeting hospitals and schools in violation of the Geneva Convention that mandates the protection of civilian lives and facilities. Dr. Rose visits one of the hospitals in the area, destroyed by bombs and artillery.
This is the operation theater room, and it's also
damaged.
or damaged.
Patients from destroyed hospitals are evacuated to makeshift jungle clinics with the most basic facilities. Dr. Shen walks through the remnants of a now empty high school.
Grade 12 is the highest grade, I think. This room is very damaged. Not only the bomb, they can even use their long-range gun for airstrike because there are some small holes in the roof.
Fundamental rights and freedoms.
Ethnic students from the destroyed high school now study in a bamboo hut, hidden under the jungle to avoid being hit by an aerial attack. Nale Bueya is in her final year of high school and aims to go to university. She plans on opening a tourism business in Karen State.
Milo chupotir pani ma wetini to otini bata ble lolo la di to la pupu ya mana lo ni ba pliba phira khaplo talo kluso ha ko boju he ga do mama yem lo dia wetini plira mo plia to no ba ni miki di to da ko da ke o le wetini malwa chodra mi lo li le de bla di ko pha ba ko ni ke twe ko pora ni ba de ba wa ke ha ko da ke la ho ba ni a phali se ko ni tar o phali a ba ma mi tin na ke na wetini ku klese ki ke lo ma
Thambyar Christian Institute is a technical college where students can learn new skills in computers, English, and business. For many Karen youth, this is their only chance at higher education. Nase and her friends ran for their lives in the middle of the night when their school was targeted.
And our Karen people now faced with many difficult conditions. Well, I hope one day we will get independence and will build with our own nation.
Na Susanna Lala So is a leader in the National Unity Government. A longtime activist and former member of parliament, she sees the suffering of her people firsthand and stays at the Myanmar border area to help them.
It is not good, you know. no development, no education, no public service. You just thinking of how to live for the tomorrow. For me, when I sleep, when I get up, oh, it's another day to live. We have to thinking only day by day, you know. You could not have a long plan. You could not have your future, your education. So this is maybe many people feel like that. If you wake up, oh, you look at the sky, oh, this is our day, to live another day.
Children have been especially traumatized by the war. Unable to go to school or play with friends, their sense of safety is gone.
လူနာအိမ်တစ်လုံးတော့ကြည့်ကုန်
အော်နော်ဟိုတစ်လုံးကျတော့မီးလောင်
ဟိုတစ်လုံးကျတော့မီးလောင်လာတယ်
ဒီအမျိုးဟိုအခုကဘာတန်မဲတခြားလင်းပြန်တန်လို့ပဲ
နားထဲမှာကြောက်နေရတယ်မျိုးပဲ
ဒါလေးတွေ့ရသူကငိုနေပြီလေသူငိုတော့ကြောက်ပြောတာဒါလေးမငိုသေးနဲ့ဘာဖြိုးရှင်းမှုလာမယ်အနာဘာဖြိုးဘာဒါမျိုးရောကျွန်တော်တို့ကပြည်သူလူထုဆိုတော့နည်းနည်းတော့စဉ်းစားခက်တယ်နော်ကျွန်တော်ပြောချင်တာကြောင့်ငြိမ်းချမ်းရေးတော့လိုချင်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့တယောက်မပြစ်ခိုက်ဘူးကကျွန်တော်လိုလားနေ
In February 2022, Satiba was asleep with his family when his world changed forever. A bomb directly hit their hut, and he was severely injured by shrapnel. He never saw his parents or siblings again.
It is very heartbreaking that your both parents die in front of you and you saw your house burning and destroyed and all the villagers are like they running for their lives and you could not walk because of the bomb. So there will be some more time to recover as a physical and mental. Yeah.
You flower como tú como tú a hết coi le chờ ra hết chơi à cho sẽ tem vì giàu lắm này.
Decades of conflict have forced families to flee over and over. Today, ethnic villagers are struggling to survive in even more uncertainty and a new kind of terror.
She said, "Double lamb, the one I saw what I wear, low Kayin and Kayah, or the time, Joya looked me a corridor and looked at it."
ကူညီညာပေးကြပါလက်တွေ့ကြတဲ့ကိစ္စတွေကိုပါဝင်ပေးကြပါလို့ပဲပြောချင်ပါတယ်ဒီထက်ပိုပြီးတော့ကျမတို့လူငယ်တွေရဲ့အသက်တွေစတေးနေရတာကိုကြည့်မနေကြပါနဲ့လို့ပဲပြောချင်ပါတယ်
Thanks, Kuntam. We can have the seat. So that was a rare glimpse, recent glimpse by filmmakers who actually went inside in those areas. I think, Jeannie, you just have one more thing to add, and we'll then move on to
I just wanted
Sally.
to...
Kuntam, can we have the lights up, please? Sorry about
it's like we're in Myanmar with
no,
the blackout.
not this film. We're showing that later. Sorry. Thank you. And the lights here? Yep.
Little taste of the blackout in Myanmar, Gwen. They have blackouts all day long. I just wanted to acknowledge that particular piece that the Karana team made was actually edited by Julian Haddon, who's in the house tonight, and we wanted to thank him for his excellent efforts. and to thank the Karen who hosted the team that was able to get that important documentation. Thank you, Julian.
Is that it? Okay. Right. So now we're going to kick this evening off. We're very fortunate to have Karenni and Karen representatives with us on screen, coming in from areas near the border. But we will kick off first with Sally Thompson, Executive Director of the Border Consortium, who, working with the agencies that work right along the border, can give us a very good overview of the situation on the ground from the perspective of these organisations. So over to you, Sally. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gwen, and good evening, everybody, and thank you to the Foreign Correspondents Club for organising this panel this evening. If I can, I'm just going to show a couple of maps, so if we could just ask for the presentation to go up. Very brief overview of the situation in southeastern Myanmar, but I really would rather the evening was with our colleagues who are on the ground in Myanmar in the border areas to describe what's really happening. Okay, could I have the first slide, please?
Great.
Ooh,
It's a bit small. Is it possible to make it a bit bigger, Julian? No.
Don't worry. It's
all right. You got the vague.
It's quite
shape.
general. You've got the shape. Essentially, I mean, here we are now. We're 15 months on from the conflict, and it continues to escalate. We can say there is certainly the civil resistance movement. The People's Defence Forces are absolutely determined that they are going to oust the military and the illegitimate SAC. But what I wanted to, although there is conflict throughout the southeast, I just really wanted to highlight that there are really 3 hotspot areas. And so if you can see these blobs, the first one is really up in Kayah State, and this is in northern Kayah State, where it's so it's in the top left of the map.
The dark brown block.
It's the dark brown areas in the top, and this is really around Loikor and Dimorso, the city of Loikor, the town of Dimorso. There is just ongoing airstrikes, ground attacks, artillery. It's indiscriminate attacks against civilian infrastructure. As was highlighted earlier, we've seen schools, churches. We're seeing throughout houses, whole villages being razed to the ground. And effectively, these towns are under siege. It's the same in northern Karen State, which is the middle blob around Papuan area there. And so we have the town of Papuan, and really all the towns in Karen State are effectively also under siege. It's just constant, relentless airstrikes, ground attacks that people are seeing over and over again. And then more recently, further south in Miyawadi, which is opposite Mesot, Miyawadi from December onwards has also been a target of the military offensive. Essentially, they are pursuing the CDM, the Civil Disobedience Movement, and the People's Defence Forces, and they're determined to rout them out. And so we're seeing the military offensive is now moving further south from Miyawadi down towards the area of towards Inseji and Jaidown, essentially following through with the People's Defence Forces and the civil resistance. And we have to say that anyone is a target. It's not just airstrikes, it's not just the ground attacks, it's the daily checkpoints on the road, it's people being stopped, their phones being searched, their laptops being searched, looking for any evidence that people have connections with the ongoing resistance movement, ongoing arbitrary arrests and detentions of people who are just being pulled in at checkpoints for no other reason than they're under suspicion. So the result of all this conflict, which is still ongoing, is there has been massive displacement. Could I have the next slide, please? And it's... Can I hit the next slide, please? So this is to add more blobs to the map, which really, the whole map is blobs, because all you're seeing is overwhelming displacement. Gwen mentioned 200,000 people. Well, there's well in excess of 200,000 people who remain internally displaced in southeastern Myanmar. And for many, it's multiple displacement. They're displaced once, they're in a temporary area, they get displaced again as the fighting continues, and they move on again. For other people, it's more cyclical displacement. They're displaced from their villages, their town. They then return to the town. They need to look after their property, their assets, their land. But the fighting resumes and they're displaced again. So we see this pattern of cyclical displacement. But I think it's important to note that while people want to return to their villages, they want to return to the towns, they've got to protect their livelihoods, there are really significant impediments to do this, aside from the ongoing daily conflict. There's also, we've seen increased use of landmines in many areas and unexploded ordnance. So people are also having to navigate this if they're trying to return back to their areas where they are from. The result of all this displacement has had its effects on Thailand, and if I may, could I have the next slide, please? And in Thailand, we've seen 4 influxes over this since the coup in February of last year. There's been around 21,000 people who have crossed into Thailand at different periods. The first was in, if I go north to south, Mae Hong Son province was earlier this year, where we had around 1,000 people crossing in. Mes Riang was the first last year along the Salween River, where over 8,000 people came in. More recently, Mesot, this was as a result of the fighting around the Leke Kor peace village, the model peace village that was set up as part of the whole peace dividends during the peace process. And this pushed people into the Mesot area. And then in this last 2-3 weeks, we've seen further influx into Thailand of around 3,000 people in Umpang. Now, the Thai policy has been very sharp. It is very simple. It is detain people at the border, only provide the very basic minimum assistance. There is no access for the international community. There is no access for UNHCR. It is totally dependent on the local Thai organizations to respond to new arrivals crossing into Thailand. And as soon as it is considered quiet across the border, then these people are sent back. And we're having this back and forth. Umpang at the moment today, there are still around 3,000 people. A few days ago, they'd gone back, half of them had gone back. Today, there are more people coming back into Thailand. And this is what we're likely to see ongoing. There is absolutely no signs of the situation improving inside the country, and there's also no signs of any shift in Thai policy towards new arrivals coming into Thailand. It's worth noting that there are already in Thailand still around 82,000 refugees in camps that have been established since 1984. And Thailand has played host to around 250,000 refugees in those camps, and today there are still over 80,000. But it's quite clear that the Thai policy is such that they do not want to see another protracted refugee situation, and instead they are looking to send people back into Myanmar, where they remain as internally displaced and generally living in very, very basic situation. They're either camped out along the Moei River, along the Salween River, under very flimsy plastic sheets. Some of them are hiding in the jungles, others are in caves, others are in bunkers, and you just essentially have a population that is on the move. And this has huge implications for food security over the coming year. And so this is something I think I will leave it there for now, but just to highlight some of the issues that we're faced with, and I'd like to hand over really to our colleagues from Myanmar to describe in more detail what's happening on the ground. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you. Sally, thank you very much. Actually, that was a brilliant and very sobering take with some really great numbers. I think the last two sets of numbers we couldn't really see, but if anyone has queries, you can ask Sally afterwards. I'd like to turn now to North Susanna Lala So, who is the Minister of Women, Children and Youth Affairs, National Unity Government. North Susanna, you've been particularly attentive on these sort of crisis that we've seen on screen. So perhaps you could tell us your perspective, and also in your role as NUG, what NUG and you are doing about it or trying to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this event. First of all, I would like to start with my own experience. So when the coup, and then when the SAC is looking for the elected MP, so we have to run. I ran to the Liberation area of the ethnic area. So I was in the current area since then. So my first experience is on the 28th of March in 2021. It is the next day of Tatmadaw Day. So there is an airstrike in my area. I have never had this kind of experience. I never know how to run, But the village that I live there, so they asked, Taramu, you have to pack your things and we have to run. Oh, so I don't know what to pack and how to run. So I just follow them. For the villagers, I think they are very used to that. So they bring the rice. They even bring the wood for cooking, and like oil and beans and something like that. So I really surprised to see their stamina. They bring and then climb the mountain, and some of the villagers are like age 80, and they also have to run. And the children, the parents bring them. So I was among them, and we stay in the jungle for like 1 week, and we hear the like bombing and fighting, and so really afraid, and like 3-4 days long, we don't have any sanitation area and also water. So I start suffering from the diarrhea, and many people are suffering from diarrhea. So I really worry. And then when the like leaders, the village leaders found out that, and then they sneak into their area, and then it is safe to come back. So we bring back our things and come back to the village, but we have to prepare for the next strike. So we dig the holes and then barracks and everything. It's ready. And I just live in that area and then see around. In end of the last week of December, I visit to the area, and then celebrating the Christmas with the children, delivering their presents, and also the health worker with their Christmas presents. So we enjoy a lot. But the next week, the airstrike come again. This time, they target to schools and hospital, the public facilities. So I really sorry, because I myself, I trying to renovate some of the hospital with the donations from our friends, and then now it's everything gone, like in the rain of sorrow. So everything gone. So I'm really sorry for that. And this is like violation of Geneva Convention, targeting the civilian and also public facilities. So it is very bad. And so according to the airstrike in the ethnic area, millions of people are running. In current state, 90% of rural population are become displaced and refugees. And only in Lekiko, we call Peace Town, provided by Japan, Nippon Foundation, Japan Friends. So airstrike again. Just last week, we heard very big sound, the bombing sound. Its result, 20,000 refugees in Mae South area in the riverside. So the emergency needs are highly need for that people. So the impacts of the airstrike, the casualties, hundreds of thousands of people died because of the airstrike, and loss of the properties of the people. So the houses, their livelihoods, and like cows and buffaloes, everything gone. The public facilities, schools and hospitals were burned and destroyed. You know, in the jungle, I come to know that to have a school is not easy. And to have a health facility also very difficult. And I found out that like the high school that can host the children, like 1,000 children were destroyed because second time, third time airstrike and everything gone. And I found out long-term trauma of the people, especially children. They are not there inside the village. They come in the daytime, at the night time, they in the jungle and then they just sleep there. So it is a long-term trauma, long-term psychological trauma. So as a member of NUG, I would like to urge the international friends, international community. First is to stop selling the aviation fuel to gender, because they got the fuel, they can use their aircrafts, fighter jets, and then they're just killing their own people, the ethnic people. So we again asking for the no-fly zone. So I think the ethnic organization, they also issued a statement and then they sent the letter to the UN. And we also send the letter to the UN, but we need the practical action. 3 is to take action to the SAC according to the international convention. They are violating the Geneva Convention, international convention. So it's need to take action. 4 is the cross-border humanitarian aids to the refugees and IDPs. There are thousands and thousands of refugees. They are highly in need of the emergency needs. And then as NUG, as a government, we are trying very hard to support our people, but still need for the international support and contribution. So this is what I need to urge the community, the international community, to take practical action and to support whatever you in any means to take action or to support the emergency needs. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Nor Susanna. Just to add to that, though, apart from your call for things like no-fly zones and other things, perhaps, do you have specific programs NUG is implementing or providing in those areas that we're talking about tonight?
You mean the emergency assistance program in that area?
Yes. And
Yes,
overall, I
yeah.
guess you are responsible for the whole country, right? In your
Yes,
role
yes,
as
yeah.
minister. How do you prioritize and how do you spend the budget and your resources?
Yes, needs are very high. We just sent the rice to the Papua area last week because the people are not there to stay in the town of Papua, and they just take the refuge in the surrounding villages, and they stay in the churches and also the monastery. So we send the like emergency aids for that population. So we have the system. We have like township administration, a committee we call Pakapa. So they have the committee, and then they have to fill the online form that mention their situation. I don't want to say the proposal, but it's some kind of small proposal they have to fill in online, that like how many people impact, what's the situation. So as soon as we got this appeal, then we try to send the emergency aids to that area. It's the system we are doing for the whole country. In Sakai, Moei, Chin State, Karenni, yeah, we are doing. And for my own ministry, Women, Youth and Children ministry, we focus on women and children. We send out the maternity kits to the conflict area. So far, we can support more than 60,000 pregnant women and the mother with under 2 years old child, like cash transfer and nutrition and dignity kit, maternity kits to them. So we are doing like best for our people, but we still need some more funding and program to cope most of the refugees.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll come back to that, and I should say we'll take questions from the floor and over Facebook if we can finish things in time. We will definitely have some discussion. I think you also wanted Nor Susanna to show some souvenirs of the attacks in the area. We've got some photographs. So, Kuntam, if you could maybe show those slides that we have, and Nor Susanna, you can speak over. We mightn't see your face, but you can see what the slides are, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Could we show those slides, Kuntam? Just wait on. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, this is very hard to tell the story. When I arrived to the ruined, the destroyed school, I found out the exercise books and also even the exam sheets are.
There seem to be. I'm sorry, it's on those screens at the behind you. Kuntam, is that showing on the live stream? Anyway, sorry, continue, Nor Susanna.
Yes,
these are pages. Yeah. These are pages of examination sheets, right?
Yeah. So when I see, the students are very brilliant, the handwriting and their concept, because when I read, so I can tell that those are very brilliant students. So I'm really sorry for them. Now gone, disappear. The school are disappear. Their future, their vision.
Here it is on the
Where
main
is their
screen.
future? Yeah.
Right, and the next slide. Right.
Yes, these are the pieces of the bomb. Very dangerous, and it is thick like half meter, so very thick and dangerous. And I also try to enter to the place that bomb. So it is like my high. So the power is very big.
Right. Thanks. As highlighted in that film we just saw. Oh, one more.
Yeah, this is a like exam sheets. You know, you can see 99 out of 100. Yeah, the students are brilliant. So anyway, we have to rebuild. We have to set our education back for them, for the children. Yeah. The hater is going to be hate and destroy. But with love and support and kindness, we have to work together, to rebuild the community.
Thanks very much, Nor Susanna, for appearing.
Thank you.
We'll come back with questions after the next couple of speakers. But first, we're just going to watch a very short, much shorter film about the attacks inside called Death from the Air. It's just 4 minutes. It's a video made inside Karenni, or rather Kayah State. It is courtesy of Free Burma Rangers, a group which is doing life-saving work, providing emergency humanitarian assistance in both Kayah and Kayin. And I'm afraid, at risk of sounding like the BBC, I have to give a strong warning that some of the footage is quite graphic. So sorry about that. If you find it too distressing, I'd look away. So Kuntam, can we show this and then we'll turn to our other speakers?
No! He's dead, bro. This is 17 February 2022. These are people fleeing the attack from the Burma Army outside of Moei, outside of Moei. Thousands now. This has been going on for 2 hours. And the Burma Army has armored vehicles up in Moei now. And these people are all fleeing, trying to find a safe place. Burma Army airstrikes hit this village here, Namakong, 23 February 2022. Shell just came in right behind us. Side of the airstrike. Here. More people. One dead body there. One crater here. This man was killed by Burma Army airstrike today, 23 February 2022. Out here in Namikong, in a village. We saw the airstrike happen. God bless his soul in Jesus' name. This is 24 February 2022. Strike by Burma Air Force last night, 23 February. Here, just west of Loi Ka. Damaged multiple buildings, killed 2 people, a young boy and another man right here, and wounded 3. See the damage. This was like the little meeting place for the village. See the blood here of one who died. Loi Ka area, Karenni State. That's the church in the middle was rocketed last night by an aircraft. Many houses on fire, Burma Army's in there. We had many dead and wounded last night. And please pray for the people of Karenni. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks, Kuntam. Can we have the lights? So that kind of footage, it's worth remembering that daily the junta is trying to cut all access to the internet for anyone it considers dissident or against it. So this kind of footage is more and more rare on the internet inside Burma. I think a lot of people find it difficult to access, and I think we're very lucky to get some of that out from areas where people take incredible risks to film those sort of attacks. Anyway, thanks to Free Burma Rangers for that. And I'd like to turn now to our 2 Karenni representatives who've joined us tonight and have a handle on the situation inside their state. Nene Plo of the Karenni Coordination Team for Emergency Relief. Please tell us your perspective on what we've been discussing.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. I hope you can all hear me well. Thanks also to other panelists, fellow panelists, for the information. I think Sally covered the whole area quite well, quite thoroughly. But probably I may just add a few things happening in our state, Karenni State. Fighting happens every day in Karenni State and in Pekong Township. Pekong Township is in southern Xi'an State, but it is predominant. Its inhabitants are predominantly Karenni people, and that's also where up to 50,000 people are displaced. And for the entire Karenni State, over 150,000 displaced. And if you put all the displaced people together in Karenni State and in Pekong Township, Xi'an State, the number is more than 200,000. And it is not going to decline anytime soon, because of the continuous fighting. And a lot of IDPs cannot return to places, for example, like Dimoso. Dimoso town is the second largest town in Karenni State, but currently it is basically like a ghost town, almost completely destroyed. And it is very unsafe to return. We have seen a lot of dead civilian bodies after the return, and they were caught by the SAC forces during their trip. Mostly tortured before being killed. That's what we've seen in our state. To give you a brief background, displacement and war in Karenni state is not something new, not new to us. At least it has happened since 1948. But what is new now is that the scale is pretty large. It is statewide right now, the displacement and the war. Displacement and war are also taking place in urban settings and suburban settings. This is also something new. For example, Loico has about 100,000 people, half of them have been displaced. Dimoso is another urban or suburban setting. Crusoe, the same thing. These residents have had to flee. I think residents in these areas had not fled since 1948, after during the Second World War and after the Second World War. But now they are fleeing again, and this is just creating a huge humanitarian challenge for us, having people fleeing into so many different places, into neighboring villages or near the villages, or into the jungle, and some to the border area. Because where the fighting and displacements are taking place far from Thai border, we don't have a lot of displaced persons fleeing to the border just because of the long distance. And so it's not quite visible to the international community and to international media. But like I said earlier, a lot of people are fleeing inside the state, and currently, they don't receive a lot of help. Most helps come from Karenni people, either within Karenni state or from other parts of Burma, and Karenni people living abroad through remittance, and from NGOs based in Thailand or operating on Thai-Burma border. We have yet to see any major substantial humanitarian assistance from large international organizations or donor organizations or governments. Some governments are doing doing a lot, pledging or allocating a lot of funding for humanitarian crisis in Burma. But at this point, those funding have yet to reach the displaced people in particularly Karenni state, and also elsewhere in Karenni state. And the attacks on civilians also happen every day, as you have seen in the two films. The patterns of attacks are similar. You will see unlawful. All of those attacks on civilians are unlawful, disappropriate, and direct on civilians, targeting civilian buildings and churches, schools, hospitals, clinics. Up to this point in Karenni state, we have at least 600 civilian buildings, including churches and schools and monasteries, and clinics have been destroyed by the SAC airstrikes, artillery launches, or torching by the SAC troops. And we have also seen excessive use of force. You have seen the airstrikes. They include fighter jets, attack helicopters, and multi-launch rocket system. We have had reports that at least 2 multi-launch rocket systems are placed in Karenni state right now, targeting areas like Dimoso and Pruso, where it is predominantly inhabited by IDPs. And there was also an incident of the SAC Air Force using what we believe was vacuum bomb. They dropped 2 one exploded, but the other one did not, and our resistance soldiers were able to retrieve that bomb, which is about 5 feet long, from a crater that's probably about 15 feet deep. They were able to retrieve the bomb, and from the look of it, and some expert opinions, we believe that it is a vacuum bomb. So we have seen that kind of attacks on our people, and that displace more and more people and prevent people to come back. So that puts Karenni State's displacement at about 70%. Karenni State is not very big. I mean, it's not big. It's very small in terms of geographic size as well as population. We number just around 300,000 in according to the 2014 census. But right now, over 200,000 are displaced. So that's where we are right now. We forecast that the trend may continue. We don't see any sign of fighting escalating because the SAC is having daily operations and offensives and activities, patrols, that kind of things in our state that cause clash with resistance forces on the ground. So IDPs we have to remain in hiding and will not be able to come home. Now we are seeing a new trend of IDPs slowly trickling into the border area near Thailand for better safety and for better access to humanitarian assistance. And we think that trend may continue if the situation in the state is not improving. And in terms of international response and attention, not just in Karenni State, but the entire country of Burma, the issue is never hot enough, or if I may use another slang, it's never sexy enough for the international community. We barely get the attention, the coverage in international media. And just when we are about to get more attention, we always see some other distractions. In this case, Ukraine. I'm not going to compare Burma to Ukraine because we're not in Europe and our neighbor is not Russia. But that kind of distraction always comes along, and it just takes the attention from the people of Burma away. I don't know. Sometimes you feel abandoned, you feel isolated, and then you feel not important. Yet your suffering is ongoing. It's been going on for so many decades, and you just keep going this way, and as a people, you just build your own resilience, and then you will just work hard, and then you just find a way to rebuild when all things are over. Just if I may give any practical recommendations to international organizations or whoever. At this point, I think we may focus on humanitarian assistance and try to make sure that the humanitarian assistance is direct as much as possible to the affected population. We don't want a lot of middle organizations and make the humanitarian assistance immediate and flexible. As for the international community response to the junta and the whole country, calling for we can call for many other international actions like no-fly zone or that kind of thing, but the international community bureaucracy is just too much, too complicated, and it's almost impossible that kind of action. So, I will just focus on the immediate need of the displaced people on the ground here, humanitarian assistance in terms of food, shelter, medicine, and protection to the displaced populations, protection to the aid workers, and protection to the host communities who are receiving displaced people in their homes or in their villages. So that will be my brief presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Nene Ploa from the Karenni Coordination Team for Emergency Relief, which I presume is also taking donations. And I should mention that if you do want to help or donate, these organizations also, you can contact the Foreign Correspondents Club if you want to donate to Myanmar media or want any advice about how to contact any of these groups. I'm sure we can help out. So I would like to, we'll return to some of those points you made, Nene Plo, after we hear from our last speaker, Tu Chit, and we do have time for questions afterwards, so please keep that in mind, viewers. Tu Chit, over to you. Founder and Director of the Foundation for Education and Development in Kayah State. You there? I think we need to switch to Tu Chit, yep. Okay, you're on.
Oh, yes, good evening. My name is Tu Chit. I am the founder and executive director of the Foundation and Foundation for Education and Development. We are working both in Myanmar and Thailand. Especially in Myanmar, that we are most focused on the Karenni state for the youth education, leadership, and youth developments. We have been there for almost 8 years now. Seeing that after the Korean National Progressive Party, they got a bilateral agreement for the regime in 2012. So we work in there. So we established the Youth Peace Education and Development Center in Karenni State in one of the famous township in the Karenni State. We call it Dimoso Township. It was we are running this program for over four years, and over 300 student attendance. The most of them, or over 90% of students, are the behind means, the internally displaced person, IDP, or illegal migration in Thailand, and also some of them are living the temporary the ITB camps. Of course, maybe some of them can be the freedom fighters, because of 100% of our students from the removed area and poorest areas of Karenni State. Now that this village, they are coming from, they are damaged and burned down by the military. Also, at the same time, I also delight to hear that some of the local the base teacher unions that run the education for the ITP students in kids in the ITP camp in Karenni State. So I learned that the run is a 6 township in the Karenni State with over 200 schools, and over 1,000 teachers are teaching to the 20,000 students in the Karenni State, according to the reported. Also, the civil society organization and religious group are also trying to provide education for the students in the ITB camps, but they are also the high risk situation. You can imagine how the teachers concentrate the lesson, and also the students are the challenges to learn in the situation of under fire and the food shortage. So even the last few days ago, one of our teachers' houses have the bandits in the the new Moei village in Demoso township. It is the last two or three days ago. So I can say that the youth education and development situation is more than tolerance in the Karenni state. The young people are helpless and hopeless and they are also that they are hopeless for their further education. We have to fit this. So I also that everyday basis, the many of our students, our former students, they contact and then they share about their situation, how they are suffering, how they are concerned on their futures. We also had the many, the different kind of students, but as I told you before, that over 90% of our students, among this over 300 students, so they are becoming the ITP. So that is the current our situation. Our sister and our brother, they already share the overall the situation of the refugees, the IDP, and the politics situation in our state. So thank you. That we needed the brother and sister from the local and international, the solidarity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Chit. It's a rare glimpse into how this incredible effort to keep some education going in a state that is being bombed senseless is really an exceptional initiative. So now I'd like to turn to the audience if there are questions. I've got a stack of them myself. And also invite people viewing on Facebook to ask if they want. We have someone up the back of the room. Could you identify yourself, please? Thanks, Tony.
Tony Davis from the Jane's Defence Publications. I have a question for the gentleman from the Karenni coordination team, and it's this. It appears from what we've been tracking from Thailand that some of the most effective resistance against the SAC forces has been from Kayah State. And I'm curious to know why he thinks this is the case. You mentioned in your presentation some of the weapon systems being used against the resistance, suggesting that the resistance itself is putting up a very strong fight. And I'm curious to know why you believe this is the case. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. So I think, Nene Plo, that's a question for you. And if any of you other speakers have thoughts on that, but first, Nene Plo.
Thank you, Tony, for the question. That's a great question. I think in Karenni State, we first of all, Karenni people have experience of fighting dictatorship for a long time, since 1948 again. And although there are quite a number of armed organizations, resistance organizations in our state, the current organization that is leading the resistance, the Karenni National Progressive Party, and the Karenni Army, the military wing of the party, the Karenni Army. They have been consistent in their fight against the regime since a long time ago, and plus, with this new wave of resistance, the Spring Revolution, we are seeing a lot of young people and urban people joining the fight. And when I said the displacement was nationwide, statewide, the resistance is also statewide. You're seeing civilians picking up arms, getting training from existing armed groups to fight against the regime here. With the existing resistance forces like the Karenni Army, you now have Karenni Nationalities Defense Force, which was started with 18 different people defense forces, PDFs, and now they have increased their number to 20 battalions. I mean, they are still, all the resistance forces in Karenni state are still undersupplied, but you know, they have been able to put up the fight against the junta quite effectively. But you know, the junta using airstrikes and artillery and that kind of excessive force, it is not enough to push the junta far back so that IDPs can return to their homes.
Thank you very much.
Gwen, could I just have a very quick follow-up question to that?
Since you
Could you
asked so
please,
politely,
and
yes.
then I'll disappear for the rest of the evening. Could you please explain the relationship between the Karenni Army, which is the military wing of the KNPP, and the Karenni Nationalities Defense Force, which is composed, as you've just told us, of PDFs? What is the relationship there? Is there a command and control relationship, or are they basically simply brothers in arms? They do their own thing in their own way. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, so the relationship between Karenni Army and Karenni Nationalities Defense Force is it's more like a fighting unit where the KNDF, you know, Karenni Nationalities Defense Force, is under the command of the Karenni Army Commander-in-Chief. In terms of units, they are still separate units, but in the battlefield or in military operation, the KNDF takes the command of the Karenni Army directly. But we still have, you know, many different other PDFs in our state. They are not quite there yet to be under the command of Karenni Army, but some of them do work together in the battlefield with KNDF and Karenni Army, but some are still not there yet for cooperation. Thank you.
Maybe I could add to that and say, you know, the state is actually got, as you mentioned, a proliferation of PDFs and armed groups of different categories. So you've only mentioned the Karenni Army and KNDF, but do you see more cooperation between, you know, more of them? Are we just talking mainly about with KNDF and?
At this point, you know, we're still working on more cooperation, but the existing cooperation with KNDF and KA is growing, and we're going to make that stronger. But with other PDFs, you know, those we already have cooperation with, we will keep it and we'll try to make it stronger. But those we still cannot cooperate with, we'll have to work harder to, you know, for better cooperation.
Right. Thank you. If there's no other question here, I'd like to ask Nor Susanna, actually, you know, everything we've heard and what you said before about this huge humanitarian challenge, and you're particularly concerned with the most vulnerable women and children, also these associated issues, you know, health and education, these sort of related things that directly affect the people you're responsible for, but you're also part of the NUG, which has vowed to, you know, work on strengthening the people's defence forces and also support them as well. So how do you see the balance or the dilemmas between spending money, and we all know that NUG has had a lot of support and a lot of goodwill around the world, but obviously there's never going to be enough money for the kind of challenge you've got ahead of you. How do you view this kind of balance between the priorities of trying to strengthen your defence forces and, you know, look after these victims of terrible atrocities all over the place?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, actually, it is a very hard question to answer.
Sorry.
Because yes, we have like supporters and also contributors for the people of Myanmar around the world, and the people of Myanmar especially. They are really would like to would like to have the independence from the military junta. So they just pull and pour out what they have, especially the people inside Burma. But the needs are really high. So so far, we are prioritizing the defense. You know, defense is important, and because of the military junta fiercely attack the civilian and children, they arrest the children and rape to the women, burn alive, looting. So defense is very important. So yeah, of course, defense is priority, but the day-to-day life is also very important, you know. So for the health issue and also the basic food and shelter. So we have like kind of, you know, donor who specifically would like to help the pregnant women or the children, and to build a hospital, something like that. So it is good that it's come up with this kind of intention, so we don't need to worry, and then we just use for the intention, the humanitarian AIDS program. Yeah. So the donations come from different area, different people, different groups with a different topics. So we just make sure that our people are not starving, and on the other hand, to have enough protection for the people of Myanmar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Noor Susanna. And if I'd just like to turn to our excellent speakers before we finish, because there don't seem to be any other questions. If there's any other comments or points you'd like to make or respond to any of your fellow panelists' points. Sally, no? Yeah.
I mean, perhaps just to add something in terms of the international response, and we have to say that in the areas that are hardest hit, in the conflict-affected areas, it is up to local organisations to respond to the needs. But I think what has happened over this last year is that the coordination of local organisations has increased significantly. It's not just one or two organisations who are responding. They are coming together in a much more diverse group to be able to address needs. So whereas one organisation cannot access, there are others who can, and so they're working much closer together, and our challenge as the international community is to make sure they have the resources when they need it. If there are another 30,000 displaced tomorrow, is the international community ready to release resources where those communities need it? Not to say how it should be spent, but to actually give that flexibility to the people on the ground to allocate resources where they identify the priorities. And this is going to become much more of a challenge as we go forward, as we look at the pressures from the demands from Ukraine, etc. And yet it's quite clear over the next year that the humanitarian needs are going to increase, but it's not just about the humanitarian needs. It is important that life goes on. So, I mean, yes, there's one-off emergency assistance, but the ethnic service providers need to continue the healthcare. People need education. They need to be able to get back into the agricultural cycle. So one has to also look at ways at how that ongoing recovery in areas that have been decimated and maybe decimated again, how they can be supported in those different ways.
That's a really good point, Sally. But since you're, as head of the Border Consortium, which is a grouping of agencies along that border, I presume you're dealing with that every day, which is requests for advice on priorities for the funding. I mean, how do you prioritize in a situation like this where everything is needed?
You turn to the communities and say, where do you need it the most? I think as well,
Right.
we're
I
discussing
think we've heard
CTER.
tonight
I
that
mean,
they need everything. It's I guess it's a sense of priorities too.
But then you're looking at some clear priorities, whether it's food, shelter, access to clean water, and then you're working around that. So but at the local level, what are the needs in, say, Northern Kayah state may be different to what is needed in Mon state. I mean, it's not, what's happening is not homogenous.
Right.
Some areas have access to resources inside. Other areas are more dependent on Thailand. It's not as though everything has come to a halt in Myanmar. It is possible to still get supplies inside the country. So the question is, do they need in-kind or do they need cash that they can use in the best way? It's sometimes much easier for it to move around. So I think it's all about listening to what they want, what they determine as prioritize. And the challenge is to the governments, to donor governments, to actually think about what flexibility is needed, the requirements, the reporting, all of that side of it, in a country where you can't have a paper trail, where you cannot, where you're having to protect those people who are delivering assistance so that they will not be identified as supporting the potential, the resistance movement. So it needs a lot more give and take from the side of the donors.
And with everything you're dealing with, what would you say overall is the number 1 and 2 most urgent needs? I presume it's life and death sort of things.
I mean, the first thing in any emergency is protection. So that is the first, that people can get to a safer place, and then it will be food.
Right. Thank you. That's well put. We've got 2 more questions. Okay, and then we'll wrap up. Phil?
Yeah, hi, I'm Phil Robertson with Human Rights Watch. Actually, you answered this in part, Sally, but I wanted to ask, I mean, there was a lot of discussion among some of these major donors, the EU, US, and others, about trying to create some sort of cross-border assistance, you know, and they were talking about trying to negotiate something with the Thai government about this. It would be helpful to get your perspective on what the Thais are doing and what they're prepared to allow to take place. And I figure you can speak very plainly about this, you know, because, you know, Thailand is, you know, denying that, of course, they're blocking aid or blocking people from coming across. And then the other thing is I wanted to ask our speakers online that, you know, there's going to be a major U.S. ASEAN summit in Washington. A bunch of the leaders have been invited to the White House on May 12th and 13th. Of course, not the Myanmar junta. But I wanted to ask what you think ASEAN and the U.S. government should be doing about the situation, particularly in eastern Burma.
Thanks, Phil. Actually, that's a very good one for North Susanna, particularly, but welcome all speakers on that.
Yes, thanks very much for your question, Phil. Yes, many people and many organizations, they are doing for Myanmar, but it seems not enough. It's already more than 15 months, more than 1 year. We still resist, you know. The people of Myanmar, the determination this time is very clear. We never be under the military rule again. So the determination is very firm and very sure, and that's how many people just they don't join to the SAC. They still have the stamina to be CDM, to without any income or salary for more than 1 year. You can imagine. It's a situation of Myanmar. The basic government staff, very difficult. And professionals, the medical doctors, nurses, teachers, professors, many people, they just give up their professionals, and then they just showing their opposition of this tyrant military junta. So I think the international should do more than that, should do more than that, and especially ASEAN. As a member of ASEAN, we are really hope to make sharp action, decision, very clear that the ASEAN said a people-centered ASEAN. So you must listen to the people, the voice of people of Myanmar. Right. The people of Myanmar is enough. Right. Enough. So the 5 points consensus, it's very controversial, and we need more pressure and need more recognition to the NUG, and stand with the people of Myanmar and U.S. government. Yes, among the democratic country, U.S. is the strongest standpoint with the people of Myanmar. We are really appreciate their contribution to NUG, NUCC, and ethnic groups, just allow that NDA fund 136 million. This is this is a short-term settlement. We need to go beyond that, without we can erase the military involvement in politics. There's are so many effective to the international, to the region, especially the neighboring country. Now, in Thailand, there's millions of refugees just run into Thailand. Right. So we need stability, we need democracy, we need the long-term solution, like federal formation. So we really hope that the world will listen to our voice. The ASEAN will stand firm with the people of Myanmar. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Noor Susanna. It doesn't sound like you've got a whole lot of faith in that ASEAN will come to the rescue anytime soon. How about the other speakers, Nene Plo and Tu Chit? Do you have any hope at all or faith in ASEAN pledges to, get involved, open humanitarian corridors, achieve anything in Myanmar, or do you think that's a dead end?
I think I'm hopeful that we can, ASEAN and the United States can at least achieve, establish some cross-border mechanism for humanitarian aids to flow into at least in the areas adjacent to Thailand. It's good that the ASEAN is meeting with the U.S. and the U.S. has approved this aid package that includes humanitarian assistance, cross-border assistance. So I hope that they can all put their acts together to at least, establish this cross-border mechanism. And I think, ASEAN, this is also part of the 5 points agreement that the Myanmar junta is supposed to implement as agreed by the ASEAN. And also, the ASEAN chairman who visited Burma, and at least, amid protests, he visited, and he now at least, tasted the real dictatorship, and he now knows that unless the bull is not willing to pull the bullock cart, will not go anywhere. That is his own analogy. And he knows the bull now. He knows where the bullock cart is now, and maybe he can pull together all his colleagues in ASEAN and do something better here, and give some significant pressure to the Thai government as well, to allow cross-border aid to go in. Otherwise, humanitarian crisis will cross the border into Thailand. And I'm sure Thailand doesn't want that anymore. So unless they want the problems to cross their border, they should be allowing the assistance to cross the border where it is needed. And another thing is, the international community based in Burma, we are seeing this at some alarming rate, that the international communities, organizations, based in Burma are normalizing, things in Burma now, like avoiding the term like coup or anything like that. And for them, it is business as usual. In the country, that is concerning, and that's not encouraging for those of us who are working very hard for an effective change in the country. That's just very discouraging for us. So maybe they can do something about that too. Try to be more vocal for us, and also act more strongly for the oppressed in Burma. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Well put, Neneplo. And before we turn to the last question, Tuchit, did you have anything particular you want to say about this question on whether you would expect anything to come of ASEAN and its efforts to?
Yes, thank you. There also some of the speaker they already shared, but what this is my personal opinion. This is, I'm not very optimistic on the ASEAN's the action on our current crisis in Myanmar, but that it is some sort of the leading some leading NGO or some leading the organization. I think that they should more focus on how they will deal with the Thai government. I think that this in the cross-border, the cross-border, the project for this IDP and refugee. This I think that Thailand is also one of the most important country with us. So that's why I would like to encourage all some college and also the international community to deal with the Thai government is a better situation to help for our the IDP crisis in Myanmar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jeannie, you had one thing to say very quickly.
I just wanted to close by saying we come to these events, and for those of you who are watching online, and it's often overwhelming to know what one can do with the information you've received. And if any of you are interested in giving some direct support, the speakers that we have with us this evening are all able to receive support for education for the children. The ethnic organizations have a long history and a very successful education system that they have built over decades of war. So this is not new to them. They have primary and high schools. And even something that you might think is small could be quite significant. If you'd like to get in touch, Tuchit's organization, for example, is registered with the Thai government. It's a legal organization. Susanna has ways of getting supplies to the schools that you've seen in Karen State. And given the importance and the imperative significance of providing normalcy for children and youth in conflict, if you would like to be involved in any way, you can contact the FCCT, and anything that could be welcomed, whether it's supplies, art supplies, educational supplies, and it will get to those children.
Thanks very much, Jeannie. So turning to the last question, last but very not least, May Wong.
Last two questions, if I may, Gwen.
Two. Okay.
May Wong from CNA Singapore. My questions are directed to Susanna. Susanna, very good to see you again. My first question is, given the 1 year plus of the coup that's been ongoing, 15 months really, you've always been asking for donations, you've been asking, or actually you've set up NUG bonds to shore up a lot of the aid that's necessary to help the people. But we all know that aid is waning in terms of monetary support. The UN has admitted it hasn't been able to achieve the budget that it has set out for Myanmar. Of course, Ukraine as well has taken away a large part of that. How long do you think you're going to be able to sustain yourself if this coup continues? That's my first question. And my second question is, given the fact that you are the women's minister for NUG, and obviously you fight and champion the rights of women, youths, and children in Myanmar, but there's also been a lot of killings of the SAC members, women as well, meaning the pro-military supporters in Myanmar. What is your view on that, and whether or not you reckon those are also liable to be considered war crimes? Thank you.
Okay, over to you, no, Susanna.
Yes, we want very nice to meeting you again. Yeah, we have been working together in the parliament in the last 5-6 years. Yeah, it's very nice. Okay, thanks for your question. The first question is like sustainable budget. Yeah, we are thinking about it. As a government, we need budget and we need resources to support our people, service and protection, so and so. So until now, we are mainly depend on the support of the people of Myanmar and diaspora, and then the organizations for the humanitarian aids and so and so. So our finance and revenue department, they are trying a lot, and they initiate very creative idea and also the sustainable budget for the government. Some of them I could not tell right now, but eventually you will see, you will see. And I can tell like some initiative of the tax, the tax, the individual tax, and also business tax, and revenue tax. So now we are implementing in the NUG control area. So I think the tax will be a sustainable budget. And another thing is like the military, they capture many resources, and they announce that their ownership, but it is not. It is for the people of Myanmar and for the country. So these revenue are like the assets for the people of Myanmar. The military control assets are actually the ownership of Myanmar people. So we are trying that way too. So we have difficulties as a revolution government, but I believe that with the people support, and then we can like implement most of our plan, like the channeling some sustainable project. And women issue, it is a very big one, especially SAC is infamous for their brutal counter with the women. So they have done in the ethnic area for last 50 years, 60 years. Now they are doing in the whole country. So our sister in the middle of Myanmar, like Kayin and Moei, they also become the victim of soldier, the SAC soldier. So they use gun rape, and they use many brutal way, sexual violence in many ways. So we have been doing on the record and database, and we are working closely with the responsible organization, including UN, and also like the mechanism that we can take action to the perpetrator. Yeah, we have the department, we have like database, and with our Ministry of Justice, we also planning to have like our own like home justice system and international system.
Sorry,
also.
Very, very sorry, Susanna. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think perhaps you didn't really hear my question. But my question really to the second part is, obviously we know that the SAC has conducted a lot of brutality against the women and children and youths, in Myanmar, the civilians. We know that, and we have actually accused, not we, but the international community has accused the SAC of actually committing war crimes, crimes against humanity. But on the flip side of that, we're also seeing the PDFs as well as the local defense forces killing, shooting the women of the SACs, supporters of the SACs. For example, the Deputy Central Bank Governor. What do you make of that as the Women's Minister for NUG? Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to explain that there's like some group that not under control of NUG. We are trying to persuade and also organize to be one command, So we have very much respect to the international rules and regulation. We respect the law and law enforcement, and so every PDF that under the NUG control, they have to abide by the law, and we also have the system to take action those who are violated the rules and regulation, and we just can develop the child in conflict guideline and submit to the UN head office. And we also have the DOT training and monitoring evaluation in the grassroots level. So we are trying as much as we can to educate the people and educate the PDF and control and to abide by the law. So so your example is very much recently, but we are not sure that this is done by the PDF or some of the rumors say the SAC is doing because of the recent the financial law of SAC. Many bankers are angry, and there's so many rumors and news, but we never know. We don't know. But for our side, NUG is never do this kind of brutality to the people of Myanmar. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Nor Susanna. And on that note, I think we've really had such an excellent insight into a wide range of issues that is affecting or fueling this crisis. I'd really like to thank everybody who made time to talk to us tonight. Nor Susanna, Nene Plo, Tuchit, Sally Thompson, Jeannie Halsey, and the filmmakers. Also our tech maestro Kuntam over there. That was a very tricky, lots of moving parts to that. And some excellent questions. Thanks everyone for joining us. And as mentioned before, please tune in tomorrow for Marine Environment, Monday Human Trafficking with some powerful new research, and also keep an eye on our website or Facebook page, and please support the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand. We're trying very hard to bring relevant events and highlight some of the important issues in this region. So welcome contributions or also membership. So on that note, thank you to everyone, and good luck. Good night.